Oh, it says Ounder of Witley. Look at that. Ounder. We lost the F somewhere. That's okay. Here we are. Welcome, everybody. This is Friday. Let me just fix something here. The technology is not really that difficult, but for some reason, it always gets in my way, Grant. I don't know why. Anyway, so this is Friday, June 23rd, 2023. It's like every other Friday, but it's a little different today because today marks the 260th week in a row that we have been doing this broadcast. Real Estate Talk TGIF. It's 5 years, 260 weeks. Divide that by 52, and that equals 5. Or multiply 5 times 52, and that equals 5. Whatever, 260. Math, never my strong point, but I'm doing okay. I'm really excited. I've been doing this a long time, and I've had the pleasure of having great people all the way through. Some people like to talk, some people don't like to talk. We've had the greats and this man 3 times, I believe, along with John Cheplak, Tom Ferry, Haas Pratt. Haas Pratt's been a great friend of the broadcast, turned out to be a great friend just from this broadcast. There's been so many others. I can go on and on. Bill Pipes, he's been on twice. He was on last week. And it's just so much fun that I've been able to have in having communications. And the whole point, Grant, of this broadcast is to bring things forward for real estate agents to help them grow their business, no matter what it is. And if you want to work, this is the place to watch every week. I mean, I have people, there's not going to be like tons of people watching this live, but there's tons of people that watch this broadcast throughout the week. I have people say, hey, Dave, love your broadcast. And I always have to ask them which one because it's on all the time. But today, is 260. And Grant, you were on last year's 4-year program. And the reason you're back and the reason you're here is because, I think so very, very highly of you. We met 8 years or so ago, and we had a very interesting conversation. And we started working together. We started getting involved with what we did. We stopped working together. We got back together. We work together today, and we have a good amount of fun working together because we understand each other. We've taken the time to understand each other, and coach to client, client to coach, friend to friend. And I will tell you guys that, the heart and soul of this man right here is second to none. He is one of my, I say on the hand, right? So if I needed someone to help me change a tire at 2:00 on the New Jersey Turnpike, you've never been on New Jersey. Well, you have been on the New Jersey Turnpike with me.
That's right.
You would find a way to get here from Arkansas to help me do it. That's the true value of a friend. Anyway, you know what? We're going to talk to Grant about what he is all about, what he does. He is the president and co-founder of Witley. Witley is just such an amazing tool. And we're going to talk about that, of connecting and converting more leads. And that's going to be the really point of what we're going to talk about today. Nelson, hit the intro. Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. So here we are. You heard Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team. The Modern Agent team is a team based here in northern New Jersey, and we help agents that really want to work and do it at a pace where they're able to grow their business and able to get appointments. Where we do an open session almost weekly, and it's where every agent gets at least one appointment. That's been proven and documented. If you're interested in finding out more about what we do at Modern Agents, go to the modernagentexperience.com and register for one of our sessions. We got one coming up next Wednesday. Grant Wise, here we are.
Definitely. Here we go.
I have to ask you the main question that I ask everybody. I think you might have the answer. What does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's finale.
There you go, baby. There you go. All right, man. So Grant, I mean, we met, and oddly enough, through an organization called Modern Moguls Marketing, right? That was years ago, right?
Modern Agent Mastery years ago, yeah.
Modern Agent Mastery. What is it called? Modern Moguls? Was that something in there too, or no?
That was like a random thing that existed that shouldn't have. But yeah,
Okay.
little marketing project of mine that I never really pursued. But Modern Agent Mastery is how we met.
So anyway, so here we are. And Grant, thanks so much for coming on, man. I sincerely appreciate it. This is a special day for me, and you hit the special day. So welcome.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So talk to me about your path. Talk to me quickly about, I mean, as long as you want to talk, I don't care. It's up to you. You're with the broadcast here. Tell me about your journey to where you are now with, I mean, you're working with top teams, agents all over North America now. Tell me about your journey.
Tell you about my journey. I got started in the real estate industry when I was 21. Started a real estate company, and 23, I exited that real estate company, not in the best way, and started a real estate training company. And I was teaching real estate agents how to use Facebook ads to sell more houses. First client I ever got sold 48 houses her first year with her and I working together, and took that and a few other really cool success stories in 2015 and launched Modern Agent Mastery, which is how we ended up meeting, which was a legitimate training course that showed people how to use Facebook advertising to predictably scale their business. And over the course of 3 or 4 years, we built a phenomenal training company. We, wonderful 7-figure business. And I think actually it was an 8-figure business. And we helped thousands of people use Facebook to grow their real estate companies. And then I think it was in late 2016, 2017, I was like, man, surely there's an easier way for us to help these people do this. Surely there's something that we could do where these people wouldn't have to go through all this technology struggle and frustration just to get some ads in place so they could grow their businesses. And that's where the idea of Witley came about. It's like, oh, we could build a platform that could just do the ads for them. And the pursuit to launch Witley, or the fire to launch Witley, really was lit. And it was March 2017 is when Witley officially launched off to our Modern Agent Mastery group of people. And it's been an extremely fascinating ride ever since. So we launched Witley then, and then we launched Witley 2.0 in October of 2020. And I guess I'll let it out right here, right now. We might have something else coming out in September of 2023 as it pertains to Witley. But, I've gotten to spend the last, 9, almost 10 years helping real estate agents build systems and processes to sell more houses predictably. I've gotten to help sell billions of dollars of real estate. I've gotten to speak on all the stages. I've worked with Gary Vee's team. I've worked with NAR. I've worked with Inman. I've worked with John Cheplack. Really worked with a lot of industry leaders, been on their stages and shared what it is that we teach people. And I've had a blast doing it. I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people like you and a few others that I call my friends. And I don't know, man, I get to have a blast. I love helping people. I love helping people, earn more money. And it seems to always be a need. So it's I
think one of the things, Grant, is the story, going 8, 9, 10 years is interesting in and of itself. But people probably don't understand what you had to do to build Witley, to make Witley work. And being someone that was pre-Witley, this was a great system of Facebook ads, and it worked like crazy. I mean, I was doing these ads. This is when Facebook ads first started, but there were so many pieces to put together. There was the landing page. There was the follow-up. There was all these different things. And I got to be really good at it, or so I thought, where I could build the perfect ad and launch it in 3, listen to me here, hours. That's what it would take me to do everything from start to finish. I remember I knew I could do it, but Witley does it less than 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 90 seconds, right?
Yeah.
When you put all the information in, it just hit and it goes. And that's the great thing about it. We get the leads, we get the information, we get the people responding to what we're putting out through Witley. And that's only part of it. Because we hear so often, Grant, about, those leads suck, or they're not calling me back, or, I don't want to do it. And to be honest, I believe it's the 80-20 rule, where 20% are really going to pound them and 80% are going to call it once. Now, I'm going to say really quickly, I mean, when we talk about for sale by owners cold calling, 48 to 60 days out. When we talk about the number of calls, that could be 35 calls, right? So it's not overnight. Not many agents are willing to do that work. I hear the question every day almost. I called them yesterday. When's the next time I should call them? Today, right? And it's all a matter of, it's a conversion. I mean, your first conversion is to a conversation, even if they hang up on you, and then to another conversation, and then eventually to an appointment. And that's one of the things you've been concentrating on a lot, is connecting with leads and converting them.
Mm-hmm.
Hit it, man. Talk to me about connect and convert and what that's all about with what you've been doing with all the leads that are coming in, and also teams and brokerages that have, stale leads sitting around.
Yeah. Great question. I think it was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, leads really stopped answering the phone, responding to the text, and opening the emails, because the average lead is shared with approximately 9 realtors. And so that when you got 9 real estate agents that all start reaching out to a lead, at the same time, in a very concentrated, it's like a cluster, right? You have a cluster of agents that are reaching out to one person, trying to get them to convert you. So you saw the conversations really take a nosedive. And what happened was, we as a society stopped talking to people without doing our own research. Like, you don't buy products and services without doing your own research. And every agent that is listening to this does not buy products and services without doing their own research, right? So we stopped talking to salespeople so much, and we just started looking at the internet to get our answers, or our favorite influencers, or whatever. And what we recognize is that, like, if we can't figure this out, we're not going to have a business, because nobody's going to buy leads if you can't convert them.
Right.
And so there was something that we did at the time that we didn't teach our clients to do, and that was something called remarketing. I had, really successful sales funnels. We would generate leads, and then I would have video content that just nonstop in front of these people every single day until they got on the phone with our team. And I was like, well, I wonder if this would work for the real estate agent. And so we pulled a few people in, and we got together and we tried it. And it was pretty cool, because all of the sudden, for all of those people started answering the phone again. People started responding to the text again. People started opening the emails again. And what we saw was that if we could focus on the relationship, and that's why we call it relationship remarketing, if we could build a relationship with somebody instantaneously, we could get our clients' conversion rates back to what they were. Because the industry average for conversion right now is 0.8%. Our average client converts 150% better than that. And it's because of that relationship remarketing component. And so what I've been hammering with people lately is, when you connect more, you convert more. When you focus more on creating a connection with a person, you're going to convert more. And, especially lately, I've been talking all about databases and email marketing and community content and really building relationships. And I've said it like this: the average person buys 3 homes in their lifetime. Okay, that's the NAR statistical average. And that trend per NAR states that, I think it's like an average of 13 years, every 13 years. And that's gone way up because of COVID and inventory and all that other stuff. But every 13 years, somebody buys a property. And we've got agents that are generating leads into the hundreds of thousands. If anybody watched, Dave, I know you got a database, big database. We got people that are watching this. I've got, they've got leads. They've got 1,000 leads. They got 10,000 leads. They got 100,000 leads, whatever. And what I've found so particularly fascinating, as I've started consulting for some of the most productive teams in North America, is that everybody's generating a lead, They're doing a little follow-up. Not everybody's doing follow-up the right way. They're doing follow-up. And then if they can't convert, the lead goes into the database, and then it's like it's this ghost town. Nothing ever happens to it again.
Yeah, cobwebs and shit.
And so what I've been harping on lately is like, look, when you connect more, you convert more. Even though somebody only buys an average of 3 homes in their lifetime, they refer an average of 2 people to a local real estate agent annually. So that means if somebody is going to buy a house every 13 years, in that time frame, they're going to refer approximately 26 people to a realtor. So is the transaction more important, or is the relationship more important? And this is why we hammer relationship remarketing. You've got to get into relationship with the prospects that are sitting inside of the database. That comes through creating content that is valuable to them, comes with talking to these people every day. So many people are generating leads. They're calling the leads and they're not ready to transact. The lead goes into the CRM and it's never touched again. I cannot tell you how many people that I consult for right now send 1 email a month. The only reason that we even buy leads is so we can talk to those people every single day. But nobody's doing that. And they're wondering why their conversion rates suck. And there's the answer.
You know, look, can it come down to something as simple as data, as a database that you make? Because you're getting all these leads, they're there. It's like digging for gold almost. Maybe that's the wrong comparison or analogy to use. But, it's like I talk to agents every day. And one of the things they say is, like I had an agent this morning say, I have this person's email address. Should I just send them a CMA? I said, well, let me ask you a question. How many emails do you send out to all these different leads and these different sources? How many do you send out a week? He says, I don't. I mean, it's like, look, truth be told, you and others have taught me this, you more specifically than others, and just sending out, but not just sending out anything, right? So let's be clear on that. It has to have value to it, and it needs to be relationship building. Let's face it, you're going to make a contact. When you get the lead, it's a contact, and then you want to get to eventually a contract. And, oddly enough and corny enough, there's only one difference between those 2 words, and it's an R. Contact, contract, and that is really can simply stand for a relationship.
Yeah, it's a good distinction. Yeah, if you want to turn your database into dollars, start talking to your audience every single day. Here's the thing. Don't talk to them about real estate.
Right.
This is what people don't seem to be getting is like, okay, when I say send an email to your database, somebody immediately goes, okay, 3 things to know about selling your home. Okay, that's great. I'm glad that you've taken an initiative and you've come up with an idea. But you want to talk about real estate like maybe 10% of the time. Because relationships, you can look into your own transactions. You might be actively closing a deal right now. And when you sit down at the table with the buyer or the seller, you might talk about real estate for a couple minutes. And then you're talking about golfing or wine or food or pizzas or tea parties or kids or sports, right? You're not really talking about real estate. And some people are. And so what I'm trying to say is like, if you could every day create a piece of content about your community and share that on social media and send that out in an email, you would be shocked how many more leads you would convert simply by talking about the community. You go back to my statistic a second ago, people buy a property on average every 3 years. That means you can get attention, but in order to keep it for the long term, you're going to have to talk to these people about something else. And so recognize that these people live in and want to experience their community every day. And you're a realtor. You're thought to be the local expert on all things, particularly related to your community. So when you start talking about the top 3 ice cream parlors in my community, the top 5 safest parks, the number 1 farmer's market you should go to. Like when you start talking about your local community and you become known more as a community expert, I think you're going to be shocked. Gary Vee was rattling about this just like a month or two ago. So the reason Jake Paul and Gary Vee and all of these other people have blown up is because it's 99% of their content is just value and entertainment. The other 1% of their content is buy my stuff. And if you can adopt that frame of mind, I think you're going to put yourself in a much different position to convert. Again, when you connect more with your audience, you convert more. And that's the game, because this is a relationship-based business.
So it's look, everybody has people to talk to, and it's like the biggest question I get from what you just said is, well, what do I send them? And you just told them, this is talking about the community. I mean, you and I can talk about food. Now we talk about pizza now, and we also talk about steak. So if anyone wants to know what the best steakhouse in the country is, Grant, what's yours?
Elway's in Denver, Colorado.
Okay. Mine is Frankie and Johnny's in Manhattan. Anyway, so
well, you didn't take me to Frankie and Johnny's when I was there a couple of years ago. What, you took me somewhere else?
Well, you're going to be out here again shortly, and I will take you. Okay. There are other places. Actually, honestly, as we off on this food binge here thing, right? So the best steakhouse really that I have found is in Carlstadt, New Jersey, my house. Anyway, that's
there we go.
I have found a good supplier, and boy, oh boy, am I very happy. Anyway, we digress. But talking like we're talking about food is one thing that you can talk about as well. And I'm not saying send recipes, because honestly, no one needs to know how to bake an apple pie. But I can tell you that during the holidays, if you're going to give out apple pies to your former customers, or if there are bakeries that are doing specials, put them in an email, put them in your content. And also, Grant, I think what's really important is we're talking emails really in one way or shape or form specifically, but we're also talking about content. We're talking about, as one would say, land, sea, and air. That's why social media is so much more important today than it was 5 years ago and 10 years ago. It's that you've got to be able to have almost that proof that you are who you say you are by being that person that you think you are. If you've only got a couple of posts out there from 30 weeks ago, you're a little in trouble, right? And it should be all consistent with what you're emailing out. You know, I mean, we have this process that we use where, you know, your video that you're going to talk about something can be sent in an email, but it can be sent back to your social media page, either Facebook, Instagram, whatever. But there's a lot of great things that can be done with that, because then they see you and then they want to see more, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a matter of building that relationship and putting those deposits in a bank where you be able to withdraw them when you need them. Now, one of the things that you said was they know someone that's going to sell if they're not going to sell themselves. I believe that the statistics I've been using for years has been 15% of the people you know are moving in the next 12 months. 100% of the people you know someone that's moving in the next 12 months. It's all dependent. And this is your database as well as your sphere of influence. So it's really important for you to be able to connect with them on a human level rather than just a transactional level. And, you know, Grant, as long as I can remember, this is a conversation that I've had with all different kinds of people in this business for the past 20 or 30 years. And the question I would have for you is, how do you become different? How do you do things differently? Because the agent out there is saying, yeah, you know, I'm not going to do that. What would you say to them?
Okay. You don't have to do it. You just have to recognize that your lack of like intentionality in your market with getting attention, building a brand, creating relationships is going to impede your progress. You're placing a glass ceiling on the amount of business that you're going to do. This isn't an option anymore. If you want to go out and produce, like if you want to sell 5 houses a year and, you know, make some side hustle money, then it's possible that you can just tap into your relationships and, you know, you'll do okay, but it's not really an option anymore. And so you asked me how you can be different. Like, so let's say we get past the idea that like, well, I don't really want to do that. Okay. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just recognize that you're making a conscious choice to do less business than you could. because other people are building relationships with your audiences actively, right? Everybody's competing for attention today. And so then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do it, but how do I stand out and how am I different? So are you ready for the secret, Dave?
Yeah, please tell me, man. I need help.
How do you stand out? How do you be different? Answer the question.
How do I stand out? And how do
No. I'm just repeating the question. Okay, ready for the answer?
Go ahead.
You already are different.
Just being me.
Yep, you're already different. You're already unique. The only problem is you're not sharing that uniqueness with the world, or most people aren't, right? And I think that people get this, like they get it stuck in their heads. I was coaching and consulting somebody that maybe a month or two ago, and she's like, I don't know what it is, but these people ask me to speak, and I'm psyching myself out because I'm trying to, figure out what I need to do and what I need to say and who I need, like, and I'm just so nervous. And I'm like, well, why do you think that they asked you to speak? Well, because they like me. They like my content. They like the way that I communicate. They like the information that I'm giving out. I'm like, okay, then why do you all of a sudden think that you need to change? Why are you trying to be different just because somebody asked you to speak? They like you for who you are. And it was like this, like, oh my gosh, that's right. I could just go be myself. Like, anybody listening to this has 5 people that already like you for who you are. And so the point when the camera comes out is not to all of a sudden change. It's the point is to, when the camera comes on, to just continue being yourself. And that right there is going to do two things. It's going to be a magnet to people that like you, and it's going to be a repellent to people that do not. And that is how marketing works. That's also how perception works, which is why most people don't do it. You are automatically attracted to things that you like, and you're automatically repelled by the things that you don't. People say, well, I'm afraid that people might judge me on video. It's like, well, look, people are judging you because you're not on video. What about that? Well, people are going to judge me if I do a TikTok dance. I'm like, well, some people probably would judge you because you don't. Like, at the end of the day, we cannot continue to live our lives making decisions based on the perception of others. You already have people around you that know you, that like you, that trust you because of who you are. And all that social media, all that video, all that advertising is designed to do is to show who you are to more people, right? It's to open yourself up to more audiences so that people can develop a relationship with you, and then, eventually maybe buy or sell a house with you. And so, to answer your question, how do I stand out? How am I different? It's really simple. You're already standing out because you're already different and unique. And so you just be yourself, and you talk about the things that you like. You said a second ago, like, maybe nobody needs a recipe for apple pie, but if you love giving people recipes, that's what your content should be about. Like, because, somebody's like, dude, I've been doing content all the time for real estate and I was getting nowhere. And I put out this freaking green smoothie recipe and I got like 300 likes. I don't understand. I'm like, talk more about green smoothies.
Right.
Like,
right.
I think that people have this like idea that I've got to get outside of myself. I've got to be something different so that more people like me. And that's not the point.
So I want to take all this part, and I want to give the negative part of what happens to agents, especially when they start, trying to build that relationship, and that's making phone calls. It's funny, we get this license that says real estate salesperson on it, and we automatically believe that we need to be salesy, cheesy, and corny. And I'm telling you right now, man, I can have a conversation with an agent and it's just like pure and simple and real. And then they get on the phone and they sound like this fucking robot that doesn't sound like anything else. And I hear them talking and I stand next to them. I said, will you please start talking to yourself about yourself? I mean, the way you are, be you. And I hear them talking, and I've got to go through it, and I have to explain to them. And I did it today. I did it yesterday. I did it the day before, because with what we're doing, we've got a lot of people to talk to and work with them side by side and standing next to them every day. And I hear it all the time. And should I have said something differently? Yeah, you should have talked like yourself. There's an old expression out there is dance and sing like no one's watching, right? How about this? How about dance and sing and talk to people like a 4-year-old, because 4-year-olds don't give a shit, right? They don't care who's watching, what's doing. It just doesn't. So I want you to take a cross between that salesy, cheesy person and that 4-year-old. I want you to be yourself. That's the hard part. How would you coach, train, help someone instead of turning into that cheesy salesperson through the scripts? How would you tell them? How would you help them to not do that?
I think it's probably a conversation like the one that we just had is, who are the people that like you for who you are, and realize that all marketing is designed to do is to help you attract more people like that.
Right.
Because I'm sure there's people on here too that have had a bad transactional experience. Dave, you've been in the industry for a long time. You ever sold a house and thought, thank the Lord that deal is done. I never want to talk to that person for the rest of my life. And I think it's, you got so many people in this industry that are making decisions based on what's going on in their pocketbooks, not necessarily what's in the best interest of their business or the customer. And when you take on clients that really you're not in alignment with, what ends up happening 10 times out of 10 is that you have a bad transaction, and you're just like, oh goodness gracious, I can't wait for that deal to be over. What if simply by creating content and being yourself and sharing yourself with other people, you attracted more people that knew you, that liked you, that trusted you, that you never had a bad transaction experience with, because you were open and honest. But people go out there and they, fake it till they make it. And what happens? You fake something, you set a false expectation of what somebody might expect to have with you. And then when you can't perform, it's like people that only share the good news.
Right.
You want to set yourself up for failure in real estate? Only share the good news. Only share the things that go right. And guess what happens? The people that are thinking about doing business with you right now, they see that. They say, oh, I want to do business with David because all of his transactions are perfect, right? He always crushes it. They never have any mistakes. And then what happens? Every real estate transaction I've ever heard of has a problem. And then what happens? The problem comes up, and then the person goes, David, what the heck? Why are we having these problems? You don't have these problems with your other clients. Why are you having these problems with me, right? So you set yourself up for failure because the illusion that you created was that everything that you did is good and great and perfect. What is the number one most consumed piece of television in real estate, in the real estate industry, right? It's $1 Million Listing. What is that? It's a freaking show. It's a drama series about real estate, and it is widely consumed. They don't share all the sunshine and rainbows of stuff. They share the dramatic parts of a real estate transaction, and people eat it up. Right. I think you'd be shocked, how much you could share with your audience and how much they would just eat it up, but also appreciate the very realness of you and how you handle things and how you handle situations and how you handle scenarios. I think so many people don't like themselves. And so they find it so difficult to go out there and share themselves with social media because they think they've got to be different for people to like you and for people to want to do business with you. And you got to look good and you got to sound good. You got to have, I just wish people would recognize their uniqueness and their value and the goodness and greatness that exists inside of themselves, because that's everybody, not just somebody listens, well, but not me because I did X, Y, Z. No, man, even you. I wish people would get it. I wish people understood it, but yeah.
There's also that type that thinks very, very highly of themselves. That it's I hear still today in the market that we're in. This is being broadcast June 23rd, 2023, and I hear, oh, I'm really busy. And when I did recruiting years ago, and I heard that, I always wanted to say, busy doing what? because you've done 2 transactions in the last 6 months. But I never said that. But truth be told, I do ask that question now. And it's more of a discovery situation for the agent than anything else. But there are a lot of agents doing well out there that have this pompous attitude. And I need you, this is a message just for you guys. If any of you ever watch this, cut this shit. You're a human being. Just stop being so formal and stop thinking so highly of yourselves. I mean, Grant and I know, and Grant, we both work with people doing hundreds of millions of dollars of business a year, thousands of transactions a year. And you know what? You'd never know it. You'd never know it because they just keep pulling and keep pushing, and they don't have a pompous attitude. Anyway, I digress because that's something that it hits me a lot every day. But all right, so we've talked a lot about connection. Does the connection itself lead to conversion?
Yeah.
So in other words, if they're doing everything properly that we've talked about here today, there should be things like come and get it buyers and come and get it listings, et cetera, et cetera. Will that happen?
100%.
So I hope you heard that. The answer to the question was yes.
It's very simple.
It's simple. But Grant, I don't want to do video, or I don't think social media is worth it. I mean, it's so much time. I mean,
I know, I get it. I got up at 3:50 this morning and I didn't want to, and I got to the gym and I have zero desire, and I took a cold plunge when I got home, and I absolutely despised it. And I ate egg whites for breakfast. Like, I don't personally care how you feel, and neither does the process of achieving the results that you ultimately want to achieve in life. The process doesn't care how we feel. The process of becoming more successful doesn't care. My body doesn't care how I feel about the fact that if I want to get in shape, I have to eat right and exercise. Okay. And so I think what I'm trying to say is, like, do it anyway. If you're sitting here saying, well, I don't want to do that, that's fine. Do it anyway. Because without the discipline to do the things that you don't like to do, you are nothing, and you will become nothing. If you only ever do what it is that you feel like doing, you can look around your life, I can guarantee it right now, and you can find a million things that you're unhappy with. Even though you're doing everything that only you want to do. Stop operating your business based on the way that you feel. Your business doesn't give one good gosh damn how you feel. It only cares about what's required. And the process of building relationships requires that today you create content, that you create videos. Stop. What do we talk about all the time? Don't be physically committed to the process and unemotionally attached to the outcome. Fall in love with the journey, creating connections with people, and fall out of love with the results. Well, I'm not saying that we shouldn't strive for results, but they're a byproduct of the action, and it's not the other way around.
Okay? I know a lot of people want to do different things on a regular basis, but this is a really interesting point of what we're talking about. Is you can do this, you can have a schedule to do the content, the schedule to make calls, et cetera, which is what I do. And I know every day, and honestly, you got up at 3:50, I was 4:15, and I didn't want to get up this morning either. Yep. But I know that one day of not doing it is going to hurt the next day and the next day and the next day, and sometimes it's like, why do I do this? And then I take a look at how my fitness is improving and how my health is improving. And it's the same thing for your business, right? Mm-hmm. You're up at 3:50 this morning. And I can't say that that's crazy because, you only got me by 25 minutes. So,
right.
I mean, but the thing is that sometimes I wonder, why the fuck am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then I look at myself and, people say that they're very grateful for their health. Well, you know what? I want you all to take your clothes off, stand in front of a mirror and tell me how grateful you are for your health. That is a direct quote from John. Because if you're grateful for your health and you're not doing anything to support your body, then you're not I mean, that's a lie. If you're grateful for your business and you're not doing anything to connect and convert to build relationships, then that's also a lie, right? There's so many things that you can do and so many things that you don't like to do. For me, I know every day what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing 4 Fridays from now. I know what I'm doing 20 Fridays from now. Okay, so that might say, well, that's not fun. Well, it kind of is because I get it done and I feel great that I got it done. Every day I do the same thing. Every Monday is the same. Every Tuesday is the same. And sometimes Thursday afternoons changes and Friday afternoons changes. Here, this broadcast is usually 11 a.m. We're here at 3 p.m. So the day has been different for me. One of the things I notice is that I'm getting better at everything I do because I continually do it and I'm practicing doing it. And for me, when I make calls myself, I'm doing it in front of others. And so, you know what? You're not going to be scared to do it because once you get through it and you get through that fear, it's the same thing with connecting and trying to talk to people. It's the same thing with trying to be, to be the person that these people need to do it. And you do that through the remarketing, and the remarketing is all through your social, through your emails, et cetera, et cetera. Talk to me more about the actual process, Grant, about following up with leads. And is there a specific process that one should follow?
Yes, I think everybody has a philosophy that kind of evolves off, the template that they were probably sent. When leads come into a database, you want to follow up. There's so many different philosophies. There's 10 days of pain. There's 333s. There's 36 touch program. There's so many different things. I think that the most important thing that anybody could do is they could get like a Google document or a Word document or something and write that process down so that you understand it, and then program it into your CRM, and then make sure anybody that has anything to do with leads fully understands and can articulate back what the process is, and then that it is stuck to. So we have reports and KPIs and measuring tools that we can utilize to optimize and create efficiencies in how you're able to convert. One of the things that I see, and I spend a lot of my time with teams, so one of the things that I see that teams struggle with is nobody knows what the process is. And here's what's even funnier. You remember that game, David, maybe when you were younger? I know you're an old man, but whenever you were younger, where everybody would get in like a circle maybe, and somebody would whisper a secret to one person, and everybody had to whisper the secret. What is it called?
It's called telephone.
Telephone. Okay, great. And by the time that the secret got back to the person that originally said it, it was completely different than what they said.
Right.
Okay, I just gave you all a visual example. That's what's happening in your sales process if you have a team. You whisper the sales process to the first person, and then the first person tells the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh, and then the time it gets around to you, and you're like, "What the? I didn't tell you to do that. Why are you doing that?" And so it's not like just that some people don't have fully fleshed out sales processes. It's sometimes even the ones that do, the way that they are communicating it is being interpreted differently by every person they say it to. So everybody's doing something that's kind of different. And right. It is to be a team leader right now that is investing large sums of money to buy leads to see agents not following up, not doing the work, not paying attention, not keeping notes, not developing themselves from a skill standpoint. We have 60,000 realtors that have left the industry in the last 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Okay. Like it's a different time period. You're going to have to work 2 to 3 times harder to achieve the same type of result that you might've been accustomed to in 2021 or 2022. And so I guess what I would say is, write this stuff down and like make it simple and make it law. And when people don't follow the law, penalize them, take them off leads, get them out of your organization, like whatever it is that you can. Because if the law is not followed, we have chaos, right? This is the reality. Think of your CRM, think of your sales process the very same way. Because the truth is, like it's just like that telephone game, man. You tell one person the sales process, it's going to get around the circle. The time it gets back to you, you're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? That's not what we do. And so that also, I think, points to another piece of advice that I typically give, which is not only keep it simple, also keep the group of people that's following up with leads super tight. I don't recommend that agents.
That's a good one. That's really important.
Yeah, I don't recommend that all agents follow up with leads. I think it's a horrible idea. And there's not one person that I've analyzed at a company has shown me data on their agents follow up, and it's good. Okay, like you're batting 0. All right, Dave, you and our baseball fans, like you're batting 0. I'm seeing literally 0 for 10, 0 for 100, because the more people that get involved with follow up, the more complexity is introduced, because everybody's understanding of what it is that they're supposed to be doing is different. Even if you say the same thing to 10 different people, there's 10 different interpretations of what those people think that they're supposed to do. So write it down, keep it simple, and keep the group of people that's doing the follow-up super, super, super tight, and make them report on their results. And if they're not reporting on their results, understand it's because they're not doing the work. So that's my feedback.
100%. And like you said before, there's so many different ways to follow up. There's so many different patterns. And if you put it out there and tell them what you think they're supposed to do it, and they got to follow up. You talked about KPIs, you talked about numbers, and putting all this stuff in place. And truth be told, there's a conversation we had earlier this week, you and I, about this, putting the process together. We've also put in, we also implemented today a process of numbers, right? Knowing what your numbers are, how many you're calling, who you're talking to, what's the process, how many contracts you got. And when you talked about, Grant, one thing, I want everybody to understand something. And because everybody's just focused on today, and they're focused on how it's been the past 3 years, right? You just said you have to work 2 to 3 times harder than you worked in the past few years to get the same amount of business. I want everybody to understand that is still less than it was 10 years ago, still less than it was 20 years ago, right? I mean, plain and simple, this is a job, this is work. A lot of people get into this business because they can set their own time and make as much money as they want. Well, a lot of people ain't working because they ain't making any money. So, I mean, you have to look at it in a process of how good of a boss are you? How good of a boss were you, right? Doing all this work and getting it all set up and being cognizant of the fact of what you're sending out and what you're doing. If you suck as a boss, you're probably going to fail at this business. 60,000, that's the number I've heard of agents leaving this business. I believe that's just a small number, and we're going to be hit harder as time goes on. There'll be a lot more. And that's not neither negative nor positive for our business. But the whole key is how you're talking to people. And I used some numbers earlier. It could be 35 calls for sale by owner. It could be 48 to 60 days for that person to actually list. If you want to call them and talk like a freaking robot, well, okay, fine. That's what practice is for. And nothing different than there's nothing different in what we're talking about than just working a job, working a business, working something where you're going to actually keep practicing and building your skills and learning your craft more and more and more. Just recently had a comment on here from a gentleman named Brian Valls talking about building the conversation. Brian, thank you for that comment. Truth be told, I know Brian over 45 years. It's amazing. I say that because it's just amazing, how people stick with you over the years, a certain few, but it's a relationship that I built, and he doesn't even live in New Jersey anymore, but it's just about building relationships. And that's an example of a long-term relationship because there's a bond there. You know what I mean? I mean, I can keep going on and on, but I don't want to make not make sense, but that made sense. So Grant, here's the thing, right? So we've got people buying leads all over the place, and then those same leads are still being dropped. There are still people saying the same old phrase that I've heard since I started buying pay-per-click AdWords on Google back in 2000 or whenever it was started, because I was one of the first ones to do it. Well, these leads suck. And I've been hearing that since there's been the internet. Do the leads suck, Grant?
Maybe some of them.
Yeah. Okay. Some of them do suck, but
well, here's the statistics though. Is like what I'm seeing. You know, we look at Facebook as an example, which is where I've spent my time over the last decade. 90% of the leads aren't ready to buy today.
Right.
Okay. Cool. We get it. Understood. Noted. 7% of the leads aren't ready to buy today, but they're probably going to be ready in 3, 6, 9 months.
Right.
1% of the leads are ready today. And so when we hear people say the leads suck, I think what they're really saying is the lead isn't ready right now. And that's the only thing I'm interested in.
Right.
So I was on the phone with somebody today, consulting a client, number one team in Canada with EXP that I work with. And they said, well, if we take care of the agents are going to take care of our customers. So we just need to take care of the agents. I said, I agree with you. But who's going to take care of the leads? Because they're not our customers yet. And the agents aren't following up with them. And it was like, oh, you're right. It's not that the leads suck. I think that what agents are trying to say is the leads aren't ready right now. And I need money right now. And so there's no systems, there's no processes, there's no people that are taking care of this long-term opportunity. And that seems to be the biggest issue that I'm finding.
Right. Right.
Is that people are only buying leads. They're only buying leads so they can pick up the phone, call somebody, says, yes, I'm ready to do business. They say, okay, great, wonderful. And then if that happens, which is unicorn stuff, they say, this is a good lead source. And it happens 1% of the time to 3% of the time on Facebook. It happens to happen 6% of the time to 12% of the time with PPC. It happens to happen, whatever the math is with Zillow and Realtor.com, because they do all the nurturing because they don't want to leave it up to the agents anymore. And so you see these varying costs and leads from different sources. I don't think that, like, I do hear people say all the time the leads suck. I think what they're trying to say is the leads aren't ready yet. Now, if you get Joe at joeschmo.com and FU, this whatever, like, yes, it's a bad lead. Obviously, it was a waste of time to even look at the contact information. Right. But if you get a name, an email, a phone number that is legitimate contact information, and you follow up with those people and they say, yeah, I'm not looking, I'm looking right now, but I'm probably not going to move for 12 months. Don't come back to me and say, you can't come back to me and say that that's a bad lead. It's actually a really good lead. Because statistically speaking, the consumer does business with the first person that they talk to 72% of the time. That's a freaking win, man. It's just a win 12 months from now.
Right.
So what the leads about? It's that the leads aren't ready yet. And that's the distinction I think is really important to make. Most agents don't want to do follow-up, but they're being asked to. That's not why they got in the business.
No, it's not.
Most agents did not come into this industry so that they could follow up with leads and update the notes in the CRM. They got into this industry so they could open doors, drive a nice car, take vacations, and provide for their family. Okay. So I think we have a skewed perception or a skewed understanding of what we think that these agents are and are not going to do. I just told you 0 out of 10 teams that I analyze have good conversion rates coming out of their agents. So I don't know what you want to do with all that information, Dave, but those are my 2 cents on the leads and the lead quality.
I want to add one thing to that. When we talk about lead quality, we talk about number of leads and stuff. I mean, I always go back to the same question. Why did Zillow buy Dotloop? Why did Zillow buy Showing Time? They wanted it for the data, right? Rather than waiting for an answer, right? They wanted it for the data. And when you're getting a lead, you've just accumulated a piece of data. And it goes back to everything we've said for the last 53 minutes and change, right? About communicating and connecting with people, right? And just as Brian says, developing a relationship with those leads, that are 6 to 9 months out. It's important to follow up with them. Now that we've got the data, we're able to do that, where we've got a phone number and we've got we've got an email address, most likely, that's good. It's up to you now to work the data that you've got. And that's really all I want to say about that is, I mean, people forget that, when they're on the phone if they're making calls, if they're lead with that way, if they're, for sale by owners, let's say, right? If you get their information, aside from their phone number and their address, like an email address, you've now accumulated data, and that's an asset for you to continue to follow up with someone while they're not ready. They don't want to sell. They don't want to talk to an agent for another 3 months. Great. In another 3 weeks, they'll list their home with somebody else that used the data properly. So just look at it that way. Anyway, Grant, talk to me more about Witley. How can people get involved in how and how can they use it? I mean, there's a lot of different things that Witley does. And, I want you to talk a little bit about that before we finish up for the day.
Witley is an automated advertising tool that real estate agents that builds ads for real estate agents so they can spend less time, worried about advertising their business and more time focused on taking care of their customers. And we use Witley to help people generate leads, build a brand through relationship remarketing, and then convert more customers. So if you're sitting here thinking, I need more leads, great. If you think I need to convert more leads, great. We can help in any one of those distinct ways, and you can check out more about Witley at witley.net, WITLY.net.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So anyway, man, I want to thank you so much for being on this special this special episode. Thank you very much, Brian. Today is 260 weeks in a row, 263 episodes. I never knew that this would be something that I would be doing when I started to do it. And the reason I started this broadcast was because I saw someone we both know, doing a really bad job of doing this. And I said, I can show up every Friday. Doesn't matter where I'm at with technology. It doesn't matter, right? I can do this every Friday. I did miss one Friday, to be completely honest, but I did it the next day on Saturday. It was food poisoning. Only first day of my entire life, I didn't get out of bed. Anyway, so that's really bad. Anyway, so Grant, I want to thank you so much for being on. We have your information. Your Instagram is on there at like Grant Wise, the website, your email address. And as we end, there's two more things that I want to go on and say, aside from thanking everybody for watching this broadcast over the years. There are a lot of people that do want to be honest. If you are interested in joining me on this broadcast, please reach out, DM me, whatever. I'm easy to find. Just look for me on social media. But the important thing is that everyone that comes on this broadcast, I am so grateful for. And thank you for coming on. The one question is, how can I help you grow your business?
Keep doing the show. Keep doing the show, man. That's the best way you can help me. I appreciate you a ton.
Thank you very much, man. And of course, last but not least, I know you've got 1, 2, or 3 of these. I don't know how many you got, but there's a new version.
There we go.
The hat. We have a white one these days, and that's coming out. We have new designs. I don't know what it's going to look like, but the hat is coming out. Grant, I want to thank you so much. Next week, everybody, we have Fernando Valencia, who is the co-founder of Unblinded, an international organization here based here in New Jersey. And so Fernando's going to be on talking about the Unblinded process, etc. So that's next Friday at our regular time, 11 a.m. Friday. That's June 30th. Everybody, thanks so much. Grant, thanks so much. If you just stay on for 1 second afterwards. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Hit it, Nelson.